Hello guys, welcome to Grounded Roots Healing. My name is Jason, and today, in less than ideal conditions, I'd like to talk about gatekeepers, I guess you'd call it. Gatekeepers of spirituality, gatekeepers of, well, how humanity and us as a people, as a whole, do things, and how we often require an appeal to authority in order to feel like we should do anything. So, as you will see here, not great conditions. I just went hunting, mostly just walking. I did see some animals. I had my archery gear, and I didn't have a chance to harvest anything, which, is generally the way it goes anyway. I'm more out here to get in nature and walk. Now, I had I guess you would call it a beanie in most of the world, or in Canada we call them toques. I had that on as I was walking through the forest here, so my hair is a disaster, and my light decided that is no longer going to function. So, pretty poor quality. Now, I guess this is kind of a test. Things aren't always going to be ideal. Sometimes your hair is going to be messed up. Sometimes your light's not going to work. And sometimes you're going to have a wool camo jacket on. And that's okay. It's not about what's the word? Tailoring this stuff for people. No. It's more about the thoughts coming to my mind and getting them out while they're still valid in the way that I live. This is the way I live. Now, I do wish I had a brighter light, because it is kind of dark in here. But say la vie. Wait a second. Maybe I can. Oh, look at that! Wow, huge upgrade. Yeah, my hair's a mess. So, gatekeepers. Now, I'll begin by saying I don't blame anyone for anything. They're doing exactly what the universe and their higher selves is telling them to do at this moment. And we are mirrors, apparently. So I'm getting the reaction that's mirroring what I need for my higher self to learn these lessons. And this is all scripted, in my opinion. But this is hard to explain. So I've had some interactions recently that have brought me to a few conclusions. As I said in one of my other videos, I've been asked to host a sort of a men's circle, just a space, not unlike AA, I guess, where people like me who've gone through an awakening can speak freely in front of someone who's been through an awakening. Like AA, as far as I know, there isn't a massive requirement to become a AA, say, circle leader. From what I've read from their website, quickly, 2 or more alcoholics get together, you can call that an AA meeting. And me having been an alcoholic, I guess that's an avenue in. But I have no formal training in hosting anything like this. Nothing. All I have is experience. Now, I've had also a depression for 40 years, which I no longer have. And I went through the traditional system to try and help my depression. I've been to psychologists, psychiatrists. I've done what I could in that abysmal system that we have here in Canada. And the only thing that actually got done was to medicate me, which did nothing more than numb me. Now, there was a point in my life where numbing me was probably the best approach. So I don't completely disagree with medication, although some people might find that strange. There were times when I just needed to shut that brain off, and I needed to break from it. Now, unfortunately, when you take those meds, it numbs you to all emotions, not just the bad ones. So you can't even feel joy or anything. You're just like a zombie. Or at least that's what it did to me. And I tried a lot of them for a long time, a very long time. Now that's what the traditional healthcare system here in Canada did for me. Talk therapy probably would have been a little more helpful, probably a lot more helpful. But frankly, I couldn't afford it. And getting that done through the healthcare system with the amount of wait times and stuff is damn near impossible. So what are we supposed to do? Now, not unlike a priest who's trying to give marital advice, or someone who hasn't been an alcoholic trying to help someone through, or an addict, for that matter, who hasn't had it but are trying to help people through this, I feel there is a massive hole in your knowledge if you haven't actually been through what I'm talking about. It's glaring. So, as many of us awaken, I don't even think that a lot of people understand what that means, awaken. It's not, it's something on its own, let's put it that way. Anyone who has been through that process knows that it's different, it's strange, and there are no resources to help you through it. Now, I have been through this. I am not completely finished. I don't think you ever really completely finish. But I have had a huge amount of success in healing things this past year. And personally, I think that gives me a lot of credibility. And you can't fake empathy. You can't learn in a school how to be a loving human being and how to apply that in a healing setting. A lot of these clinical situations, you're taught to just keep your emotions out of it. I think that's a mistake. So I'm not saying that there's no place for, classical psychology or anything like this. There absolutely is. But in this particular instance, where you are going through an awakening process, I contest that you absolutely need to have at least started on that path yourself. Which has happened to me, by the way, because anyone who hasn't been through this is going to assume you're crazy. They're going to think you're crazy. This is what happens. This is why people have these these spontaneous awakenings, and they end up in a padded room. I'm not crazy. This has happened to me. I have a very good understanding of what it is. And I also know that it's going to be happening more and more and more in the coming years. You don't have to believe me. You don't. You're your own keeper. You believe whatever you'd like. But this is my truth, and I know this to be true. Take it or leave it. And if you don't take it, please leave it. So these gatekeepers are people who've, frankly, they've gone through the system. Maybe they have a lot of education in the system. They've done it for the right reasons. They're trying to help people. But for whatever reason, they haven't started this awakening process yet. And they have no idea. They literally don't. They have a glaring hole in trying to help people like myself who are going through this. And I know people who've had this happen to them, something similar to me, and have ended up in treatment facilities, mental institutions, at least temporarily, until they got this manic episode or delusional episode under control. Or which means they buried it and they stopped talking about it. That's all that means. They've been brainwashed into thinking that what happened to them isn't real. And there's something wrong with them. And they start taking medication and they bury this deep and they call it an episode in their life, and then they move on. And that's a real shame. Because a lot of this, some of it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know which percentage of this is actual psychosis, let's say, and actually what psychosis is. I have theories, but I don't know for sure. But I do know that people like myself who had this spontaneous kundalini type awakening, we're not crazy. There are places in India where they have systems in place for people, for this happening, this very thing. Where they know this happens, and they don't lock you up when it happens. They congratulate you and they help walk you through it. It's a gift. But if the society looks at you as if you're crazy, well, that's what happens. So I've had some stuff happen recently here. There's a few people that I've been interacting with, which of course is for my lessons, right? They've triggered some thoughts about this, I've had some people who want to know if it's possible to essentially go through an awakening process but not believe in God. Okay. I guess it's possible, but why? What is the resistance to believing in God? Now, the way I view God is quite similar to the way the Hindus view God. Not minor gods like Shiva. God itself, the Godhead. You are God. That's my view on it. That's a religious view of, I don't know, 1 billion people. So it's not like it's way out there or some sort of crazy idea. This is how I think it works. I think they got it right. I think we're wrong. We're not wrong, but say incomplete view on how it works. And for that matter, I'm certain that Hinduism is incomplete as well. Buddhism, all of it. Because we're trying to understand something in this 3D realm that is not a 3D concept. And let's just say, there's a lot lost in translation. But, there's some people that will insist that in order to help anybody, you got to have some sort of formal training. You have to have some sort of degree. And that's just hogwash. It is. I know it is. There's nothing Like when your friend calls you, do you need a degree before you can be a shoulder, an ear to listen to them? Can you never give any advice unless you have a degree? I mean, come on now. We know this. Like, we're not going out here trying to re-traumatize people. Or you shouldn't. You shouldn't assume that you have the same knowledge base as someone who's spent 20 years learning about this stuff. But to that point, where has the traditional psychological system gotten us as a society? It's got us over-medicated, and it's a big business because it doesn't actually solve anything, or very rarely. Most people who end up in therapy are in it for a long time because nothing's getting worked through. You know, it's a root of the problem issue, in my opinion. You're treating the symptoms. People are trying to talk their way through 3D problems when it's a 5D solution, is essentially what I'm saying. So, yeah. You know, Carl Jung is one of the brightest psychologists that's ever lived, and he invented a lot of this stuff. I think it was Jung. Yeah, it was Freud, then Jung. They have videos of this man. And in these later years, the man absolutely was certain that there is a God. He didn't have a belief anymore. All of the knowledge that he gained through doing all of his psychological testing and decades upon decades of experience led him to the conclusion that there is a God, and there was no doubt in his mind. No doubt. So, how about we take his word for it? You know? What are we assuming here? That you watch the videos for yourself. You tell me if he'd lost his mind or he'd lost anything at that point. The man was brilliant. And this is the conclusion he came to. I'm trying to remember the other guy's name he's been recently in not popular news, but he's been on YouTube and Chris Langdon, I think his name is. He's got an IQ over 200. He's one of the smartest humans that's ever lived. And he's convinced he can mathematically prove there's a God. He absolutely knows it to be true. Are you assuming you're smarter than this man? These massive giants of intellect on this 3D plane all believe it. Einstein believed it too, by the way. And, to that point, I don't think there is anything to believe anymore. Because like I've said before, I've had direct experience of this. So what do you need? Do you need him to hit you over the head with a stick? Him. It. Om. The witch to which there is no witcher. What do you need? How much proof do you need? So, I think that's where I'll leave it. There's no manual for this. What humanity's going to go through over the next several years and decades, to be fair, there's no manual. It is written, but there is no manual. So each person is going to have to learn what this means for them. And frankly, the way we used to do things isn't going to work. It's not going to fly. It's not going to work. It's not the right way to do this. Now, maybe, I really hope that there's some way for us to combine the two, where this 3D method combined with a view of things from, let's say, a higher level, we'll be able to come up with some sort of kick-ass solution to all the difficulties that a lot of us have gone through and will continue to go through as the years go by. So I wish no one any ill, and I know no one's doing anything that they're not supposed to be doing. In fact, I send you love and light. If there's someone who disagrees with me and doesn't think that I am qualified to be giving advice, that's okay. Your opinion of me is your opinion. It's none of my business, frankly. But I know what I know, and there's no substitute for experience. So I'll leave it there. Like I always say, I hope this video finds you well. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.